Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone from wherever you are joining. We are back with a bang. Thank you so much for joining in to India Factoring Chat Show, one-stop solution for your global aspirations. We highly apologize for being late due to some technical concerns. We were not able to stream we were not able to stream on time, but now we are back. This is Rajeshri Stogi, your host for the chat show today. Before I welcome my esteemed speaker, allow me to provide an overview about India Factoring as well. So India Factoring offers working capital solutions through factoring product aimed at converting your receivables into cash. The company is subsidiary of a European bank, FimBank PLC Malta, and is registered with the RBI as an NBFC factor. India Factoring is also 83 category authorized dealer. We started our operations in India in 2010, and through our global network, we offer one-stop solution around receivables finance. For the past 6 years, we have held the top position in export factoring in India. Additionally, we have garnered recognition through numerous national and international awards, including accolades such as Best Visible Finance, being ranked among the top 25 safest place to work in, and receiving prestigious FCI Best Deal Year Award, among others. Now, I would like to introduce our esteemed speaker, Mr. Thompson Louis. Mr. Thompson is based in Hong Kong, is a seasoned finance professional with diverse background in international trade, risk mitigation, and cross-border funding. With over 2 decades of experience, Mr. Thompson has demonstrated expertise in connecting exporters with FIs and funders via strategic advisory services. He is known for his strong analytical skills and strategic thinking and ability to drive successful outcomes for clients and organizations. Before joining FCI, Mr. Thompson held leadership roles in Fortune 500 and Global 500 FCIs developing APAC regions. We highly welcome you, sir.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Thanks for inviting, and it's good to be here again. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here, sir.
How are you doing?
I'm doing really great, sir. So since we are running a little short on time, I would not, let our viewers wait more. So we'll directly jump to the questions, and we'll go starting with that. So we understand that FCI is a key player in the factoring industry, and its proprietary system, which is Eddy Factoring, right, which actually enables cross-border factoring. I would like if you can just elaborate what actually Eddy Factoring system is all about and how does it functions.
Oh, thank you for the first question. FCI, I would say, is not only a key player, but is the voice of the RF industry, receivables funding or finance industry. FCI facilitates cross-border factoring through our platform, our system. We call it eddyfactoring.com. This platform or system actually facilitates exchanging of information amongst our members. So we have about 400 members globally right now. So not only we are an association of all the members around the world, like banks and non-bank financial institutions that offer cross-border factoring activities, supply chain product, funding capabilities to exporters and importers alike. But I would say that FCI also holds a significant role in terms of setting the guidelines and regulations for all the members to follow, working with regulatory bodies from emerging markets to mature markets. Is a mix of everything that even include education. We set the education standards for this industry through FCI Academy. So we offer various topics, courses. Some are accredited from the introductory level all the way to, I would say, very advanced levels for the industry veterans and professionals.
Great. So thank you so much for answering that in details. So FCI has been in collaboration with India Factoring from a long time now, and we have been working in hands for some quite time, and you have known what India Factoring is all about. So what do you think, sir? Like how India Factoring is able to contribute in the promotion and advancement of factoring in this whole financial industry? So what are your views on that?
India factory needs no introduction. It's an industry leader, everybody knows. It's been that way for as long as I can remember. I think there are a couple of key factors that contribute to that. Is a brilliant leadership like Ravi, and also India factoring has invested amongst all the members that I would record the highest enrollment ratio into education. So in other words, India factoring invests a lot into education, equipping all the staffs with what FCI Academy has to offer. And most of the time, I would just call India factoring to provide the best practices for the industries to follow. I think that's a few key components to India factor success.
And so, do you also think that India factoring is enabling exporters to offer a competitive credit terms? Because I suppose liquidity and credit is something which is a big thing in when you talk about the Impex world, right? So, what do you think? Like, do you think that prompt payments, and reducing collection efforts? Do you think India factoring is also helping there as well?
India factoring and Ravi have been exceptionally strong advocate to the two-factor system and FCI. So, using this mechanism, India factoring will be able to work with other members, the import factors around the world, to provide two-factor risk mitigation with regards to trade risk, especially credit risk. When exporters sell cross-border to an overseas buyer, some of the uncertainties are mostly related with credit risk. These uncertainties can be 100% mitigated through a two-factor system. And the excellent working relationships with India factoring with all around the world, the members, this ensure timely collection and 100% risk mitigation, thus providing the framework to provide exporters is off-balance sheet working capital solution.
Okay, thank you so much for answer that. Another question, which actually, I hear a lot is invoice verification, which is actually one of the key differentiators where FCI stands at, right? So I want to also understand how FCI is in invoice verification contributing by improving the transparency, compliance, and accountability. So what are your views on that, sir?
As I mentioned before, FCI is the voice of the industry. Actually, this product is from a popular demand from all the members, especially from the export side. Excuse me. Just imagine, put yourself in the shoes of a MSME or SME. When you get a huge order comparatively from to your size and from overseas, you're quite anxious about the process and is everything smooth. And this is exactly what invoice verification can reassure to the exporters, to make sure that the invoices are in place in the system, in the buy system, and recognize and realize or acknowledge. And through the two-factor system, the importing partners, import factors, can verify any individual invoices based on a very, very marginal fee that would add a peace of mind to both, especially to the exporters as well as to the export factors. But I would say, as an MSME, I would definitely opt for that service if I just get a huge order from a new overseas buyer. This is a peace of mind.
Right. So on that, but I also would like to throw some light upon the risk associated in this industry, right? So now every day we see a lot of supply chain disruptions. So do you think like businesses could effectively mitigate these risks and supply chain disruptions through different financing strategies like factoring? So do you think like factoring prepares and mitigates the risk for these disruptions?
Two-factor system actually is one of the alternatives, I would say. A destination with limited coverage from our membership, or the credit coverage is not always enough due to rapid growth or expansion, or suddenly the orders double. This happens. So this, I think, export trade credit insurance will come into place where it complements the two-factor system. And also we can bring in the payables option, where it's like a export factoring receivables funding mechanism, where everything is just reverse. In FCI, we call it FCI reverse. It's just working not on the receivables end, but on the payables end. But the same concept applies. We are both of these mechanisms are working, say, on the buyers as an anchor, where usually the credit strength is better than the MSMEs or SME or the exporting clients.
Right, great. So one other question which a lot of people have, like MSMEs for the matter, like what are the key considerations for companies deciding to use factoring as a financial strategy? Because I just want to ask, like, is factoring for everyone, or there are certain factors like you can choose factoring as a financial strategy? So what are your views on this, sir?
Factoring, no doubt, for the past decade or even 2 decades, has gained a lot of traction and momentum in terms of volume, in terms of growth, picking up the pace as well, especially emerging markets. So for just focus, we are talking about Indian factoring. So for any Indian exporters, I would highly recommend to really look into this product as an option. Why? For a couple of reasons. For most of the SMEs, you don't get a large balance sheet. That's the truth. And the single largest item, that lies within, one's balance sheet is, I would say for SME, is the receivables. And factoring actually is the key to unlock this potential of this biggest piece of asset, supposedly the income, but also carries a lot of risk. So factoring, export factoring or international factoring, is exactly the tool to leverage that receivables, turn the risk into a tool to provide working capital to fund the growth, mitigate trade risk, credit risk. So for MSMEs, I would say it's an excellent tool based on the limited balance sheet that most have.
Right, sir. So one other question, which I like to understand from you is trade credit insurance and factoring. Do you think like these also help to mitigate the liquidity risks when you actually cross border trade? So do you think these are also able to help you have that liquidity which you require in a business?
To a lot of people that not really or totally understand the industry or products, they would think that export credit insurance is competing with a two-factor system or as a product, international factoring. But the truth is not. As I mentioned before, it's a highly complementary product, both. Okay? A lot of banks or even factors using or leveraging credit insurance as a backup, as a risk mitigation tool itself. So the only thing is, most of these insurance providers, the target customer base would be FIs, not individual exporters. So in order for exporters to enjoy really the total package, I would advise that MSMEs or SMEs to pick up international factoring. But the factoring industry also requires the support from trade credit insurance products as well, not only for exports, but most of the markets, learning from experience, they can benefit and support the import factoring services and capabilities as well. So in other words, if the regulators usually would have some sort of lag, a minor lag behind the markets. So when the market calls for, say, okay, let's examine and let's bring in this extra capability, extra support from trade credit insurance to complement the growth or development of either export or import factoring services. Most of the time, this would be the time to really consider bringing in a more, or perfect the guidelines and regulatory frameworks for allowing trade credit insurance to come into play.
Right. So we do also have a question from Rishika, which asks, like, how does India factoring support SMEs, which we were talking about, in accessing financing and managing their cash flow?
Is it a question to India factoring or to myself? But anyways, I would say I worked for export factors before, import factors before. So for MSME, SME exporting client, once they factor the receivables through this 100% risk mitigation or even 90% risk mitigation processes, the export factors will have the basis to leverage that guarantee or that credit protection to fund against this, as a working capital funds against these receivables. Okay, so in other words, it's not a loan. We can call it off balance sheet. So it's really ideal for MSMEs. While most MSMEs lack the balance sheet to really get a decent loan of competitive rates. But this product, international factoring, can provide that option.
Right. On that thought, sir, I would also like to hear some examples where you think that factoring has enabled businesses to overcome financing challenges. So do you remember any of the examples which you think, like, in this situation, factoring which actually helped to change the whole liquidity and the whole way the firm actually operates? Do you have any examples for that?
Yes, in fact, well, if you have hours, I can keep on bringing up examples. But the most recent ones is not only MSMEs, not only small size, but even large corporates. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in terms of annual exports. Once dollar selling into emerging markets. These new energy products, they are growing so fast. The FIs, the financial institutions handling these export factoring activities for them, cannot keep up at all because they're growing so fast. The capital requirements for the FIs is so immense that it calls for funders to come in to support the whole transaction. So this is like not only the factors are involved, but what we call is receivables as an investment class, RAIC, this new idea coming up. It's not, to the industry, some of the markets may think that is a new idea, but actually it has been decades. So in other words, not only the factors, the export and the import side that comes to display to help the exporters fund the growth, but also a third party based on the risk mitigated receivables are funding, supporting this transaction with the added liquidity requirements from the exporter.
Right. That's great. We have another question from Asha, on which my next question was also stated. So Asha asked, like, factoring has been in nascent stage in India for long. How do you see growth factoring in India, or you can say in all across the globe as well? And on that basis, my question was also that, like, what are the emerging trends which you foresee shaping the factoring industry, let's say in 2024 and way ahead? So, what do you think about that, sir?
Let's start from a more macro view, say the global factoring market. It's been growing, I would say, on average, high single digit, mixed with emerging markets and mature markets. Mature markets, I would say, mostly Europe, EU, I would say EU and Americas. North American markets, um, roughly 3 to 5%, I would say, for the past couple of years, given even for COVID, the pandemic. But if you mix it, the figure with emerging markets, where emerging markets, some of the markets like India have high double digits, sometimes even low triple digits. So we are talking about exponential growth we've never seen before. There are a couple of factors that drive this growth. Even 2 decades ago, we see that happen in the mainland market, the Chinese market, where the manufacturing activities and that fuel the exports growth that drive the demand for developing export factoring, international factoring, so on and so forth. Now we are not only seeing the same pattern of India, but also I would expect that even more significant growth for the next 10 years, especially for the emerging markets. And the focus of these emerging markets, I believe that would be India.
Right.
The most substantial growth would be from the export side first, but the composition would change. Is more value adding to the equation. So not only exporting primary manufactured products, but you're talking about we will expect a more value added to the chain, like consumer electronics, like mobile phones, computers, so on and so forth. And the next one will be import factoring services. The volume will grow too. It's required. It goes hand in hand with the export growth.
Great. Thank you so much for your thoughts, sir. I suppose we had a pretty much questions today, and it was a pretty interactive session. Before we sign off and close, I would like to make a big announcement. So the FCI Executive Committee, will be having a half-day factoring summit event in Bombay on 27th of Feb 2024. So basic topics would be covered would be best practices in different markets, risk mitigation tools, ESG and supply chain finance, and many more. And we would be expecting a lot of senior executives to be there, a lot of bureaucrats, a lot of people whom you can interact with. So I pledge my audience to be a part of this wonderful event, which actually takes not a lot of times, and you would be able to meet a lot of government officials, industrial experts as well. So this is something that is going to be big, right? And thank you so much, Mr. Thompson, sir, for joining in, for sharing your insights on valuable insights on factoring and how we are shaping the whole financial industry. Before we sign off, I would like to just take one last advice which you like to give to companies which are moving towards factoring, or who are actually currently using techniques like factoring. What one advice would you like to give to them?
Research, educate yourself, and then study the product, whether it fits you or not. Reach out to India Factoring for some advice. They have been the industry leader for, as I mentioned, as long as I can remember. So they will for sure be able to give you some very good advice, whether this is good for you and how it can benefit your export growth and capital needs. And if you have some other questions regarding international factoring for other markets, you can also contact myself. Search online, and very likely that you'll find my contacts. And then if not, you can just reach out to India Factoring and then ask, hey, I want to connect to FCI. That would do as well.
Right. So Ravi sends you a lot of thanks for sharing your insights. And he actually looks forward meeting you in the FCI Summit in Bombay when you are here. So thank you so much for the interactive session, and the sessions will be coming forward. And I thank all of my audience for being patient, for waiting for us. And I hope we answered a lot of your questions. If we still have your questions unanswered, you could reach out to us on LinkedIn. You could reach out to Mr. Thompson directly as well, or you can reach out to India Factoring page on LinkedIn, YouTube, etc. as well. With that, I sign off. Thank you so much for joining in. We'll meet you again with a bank in another chat show with different questions, with different answers. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir.
See you next time. Bye.